Just two dudes hanging out in a bathtub together. Hello, my name is Ian or Platty, and welcome to the Sunshine Connection. I am joined here in the bathtub by my friend Sam. And yeah, I just wanted to start by how Sam and I connected and reconnected in this experience. We had a great time together at Lucidity Festival down in Santa Barbara, and yeah, then I found myself in Santa Cruz and at Ecstatic Dance dancing with him, and he was gracious enough to invite me to come stay, and we've just had a really great time connecting. And yeah, that's what we are here to talk about today. Just some of those bits of connection that feel so meaningful to me, especially in a world where there's a lot going on, and maybe sometimes we don't necessarily feel that there's as much time to have those special connections with each other these days.
Mhm.
And yeah, just a conversation about that, what it means for you, how it feels, and for us to have connections like this, and how, ideas or ways that we find helpful to kind of bring that more into our lives and to help share that with others, our loved ones, our family, our friends, and yeah, just to bring that richness of connection of the human experience.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, I'll
why
say,
don't you
I'll
want to
say,
jump
like,
in? Yeah.
it was interesting yesterday when I had a day off of work, and I was like, I'm always like this person that wants to like keep myself busy, especially if it's a weekday. For some reason, in my mindset, I think that like I have to work every day, to survive.
Hmm.
And I think that's like something that a lot of us are struggling with is survival. And so we have to keep ourselves so busy. And the thought of just going and hanging out for a day and going for a walk and going and seeing the butterflies, which he was like, yeah, let's go hang out and see the butterflies. And I was like, well, I kind of want to go home and work on some projects and do some things. And he's like, come on, let's just have some fun, right? And hang out and, make time to connect. And then I was like, okay, let's just do this. And so we did. And, all the needs of having to get stuff done just dissipated and was really like us going out and seeing the monarchs and walking in nature and just connecting and talking was just so valuable. I think, especially in my life, I feel like sometimes I'm either working, hanging out with my kid, or hanging out with a woman, you know? And that's like what I value. But really, ultimately, I'm learning to discover friendship and the value of that and that type of connection, especially with other brothers, that it's so important to have that. And so, thank you for opening that for me and just be reminding me, look, I have a brother to hang out with for like a day or two and I can enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I really had a nice day yesterday. Like
Yeah, me
all
too.
day, the whole day was just epic.
Yeah, well, and we did a little bit of everything too. I mean, we even got some stuff done. We picked
Yeah.
up a mattress and such.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah. You helped me pick up a
yeah,
mattress for my
yeah,
son, which was great.
yeah.
Got to meet a cute little girl who wanted to
Yes, she
show us
was.
everything.
She was amazing. Yeah, she was having a new treehouse being built that was going to be a ship, which was amazing. And she was
Yeah.
wanting, like, to play Frozen with us. And I said, "Oh, it'd be so cool to hang out with you." And she's like, "Yeah, well, come hang out with us with me
Right.
tomorrow, and we'll play." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"That sounds great. I wish I could." Yeah, it was really fun. And those are the times too, those serendipitous moments where it's like, we were just going to pick up a mattress from a Craigslist ad, and that
Yeah.
just happened to be part of the experience, which we could have, especially if we were busy and had to get to something that was really tight on time or something, we'd be like, "Oh, sorry, we just got to get this mattress in and go." But
Yeah.
like, we were open to that of like, "Oh, okay, well, we didn't know this, sweet little 3-year-old was gonna be there and having a great time with us." But
Yeah.
we were able to and chose. We said yes to being in that experience and to just engage in how, like for me, and it seemed like for you as well, just brought that extra little level of light and just happiness. I
Yeah.
just felt overjoyed to just have such a sweet little one, coming and being so engaged.
Yeah.
And her dad even said how excited she was that someone was coming to hang out, or to visit and stuff, and that she, yeah, was just like alive and ready for us. So that was really
Yeah.
sweet too.
You're really sweet with them.
Thanks.
Yeah, friendship and like making connection in this world. We were having like a really deep conversation about that during the day. And I don't know, recently in my life, about a year ago, I lost the love of my life. And I'm just going into that year point of that feeling and connecting to that and the grief around that. And something that was one of the biggest things that came to me from that grief was really that the amount of like how much people were impacted by this woman. Her name was Aya Buganario, and she really impacted people. And I think it was mainly because she really took care in like her connections. She really put like effort into being a pinnacle aspect in the community of offering something that's going to help women in their growth in their life and just friendship and her way of expression in the world. And so when I lost her, the biggest thing that came up was how much people cared about me and
Mm.
wanted to care for me as a friend. And I don't think I've ever had that in my life. And it really made me look at how precious life is and that connection to friendships and people.
Yeah.
And so it made me start putting way more effort into my care for my friends,
Mm.
reaching out on a daily, the ones that are very close to me that I see more often, I reach out to them, almost every day and send what I like to say is love notes, just like
Mm.
something that I say that I love about them, or just say, I appreciate you. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Let me know if you want to connect. And I have a friend who's a deep friend of mine. Her name's Larkin. And,
Mm.
we've gone in and out of being in partnership and just being really close friends. And the thing I value the most in our friendship is every single day she reaches out and says something that she loves about me and how much I'm just the light in her life. And I mean, there's nothing better than to hear that from
Yeah.
someone,
Yes.
and that care.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, what came up for me and just hearing you relate that story and experience and with Aya and stuff is that in our society, it seems that it's very common to do that reaching out to someone when some big life event happens,
Hmm.
or, whether it be a death is a very common one or something like that. And how we also have the opportunity to do that just in everyday experience. Like, does there really need to be a tragedy or some other thing for us to reach out and check in with each other and say, are you okay? Could we shift that to where it's more of a proactive approach, and also just a positive note approach? Like, there doesn't need to be something happen that could be upsetting for that person. Like, how
Hmm.
about we just say, hey, thinking of you. And I think I always like to, in these videos, offer something that anybody can do in their lives, in their everyday lives, to further connection with ourselves, each other, and the world. And I think that that's one great one. If you think about a friend or someone, or maybe you see some special tree in nature that reminds you of a walk that you did with this friend, and you think of them, to just either, if you have time or feel called to give them a phone call. I always think, phone calls or in person is my favorite way to
Yeah.
connect.
Or voice
Um,
memos. I
right,
love voice
voice memos.
memos. They're
Yeah,
great.
definitely that too. I feel like, hearing someone's voice is, to
So,
me, much
yeah.
more meaningful, connected. You get a clearer communication than, say, a text. And also, if that's your way of texting or something, then that's fine too. Just, even just saying, thinking of you, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever you feel like sending.
I
But
mean,
just
how
like,
often are we on our phones just checking social media?
right.
And, I think it's like those moments are definitely times when we could check in with a friend
Yeah.
and instead of going into that social media world. And, I think the biggest why we don't do it more often, I'll be really honest
Yeah.
and like vulnerable about it, is like my concern is that if I reach out to someone, that they're going to respond, and then I'm going to have to spend time
Yep.
communicating. And do I have the time for that? And if I don't, all of a sudden, like, am I going to feel bad about not being able to like take the time for them in the way that they probably you wanting them to feel,
Right.
and the care? And it's like this catch 22. It's like, damn, do I want to take that time?
Open.
So I don't do it anyways, just to
Right.
make sure on the cautious side, I won't do it.
Right. It's opening those doors like,
Yeah,
oh, did I just open that door of communication and how many people have I just done that with? And now,
right.
how deeply did I do that? And if they respond in kind, of the same amount of time committed. And I really feel that way with the voice notes, speaking of, because, and a voice note, you can send like, there's some friends that I've, sent back and forth like 8 or 10 minutes with or something like that. And not only does that feel like a lot for me to remember of what they've just said in eight
Yeah,
minutes of continuous
totally,
saying, then I'm like,
totally.
am I going to remember everything to respond to? And, that kind of can bring an
I
anxiety
actually
for
have
me
that
too.
right now. Somebody reached out
Uh-huh.
day before yesterday with a
Yeah.
voice memo, and it was like a 5 minute voice memo, and there was a lot in it, and it was deep care.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've been blowing it off to reach back, and I
Yeah.
feel kind of bad, but I'm like, I am going to make a moment today to listen to it again
Yeah.
and just like respond. And,
Yeah.
especially, it's just important.
Right. And at my best, I try to take an overview of that long message and just be okay with that. I might not necessarily remember to respond
Remember
to all the
everything. Yeah.
bits, but like get a feeling for it and then respond in kind in that feeling so that it feels like that connection. And to say that I still highly encourage, a phone conversation because again, all these things where we're using technology, that's an opening to a virtual world of time,
Hmm.
like 8 minutes again. I oftentimes use the analogy of emails, like, but it can be voice notes. If you send an 8 minute message to all these people, well, then that's compounded to this big amount of time that then can come back and keep going back and forth in that, let's say it's
Hmm.
three, that's 24 minutes, whereas a phone call is immediate. Either
Hmm.
you call someone and they pick up the phone and we have a conversation and then it's done, or not, but it's real time,
Yeah.
so I think that that's a key element, the real timeness, how we, if I'm not able to talk to you when you're calling, then I don't pick up and that's okay. And, I'll call when I have time. And eventually, if we're intending to, we'll connect and talk. But then we don't feel anxious about, sitting with the 5 minute message that you haven't responded to or whatever,
Yeah.
because it's, we're either communicating or we're not.
And
And
something I'm learning is to also just communicate like, hey, I'm kind of busy right now. Let me get back to this at a different moment.
right,
But at least sending something to let them know you got their message, like, especially in dating world and working with like partners and things, that's really an important thing. People really feel very valued if you actually just send a quick thing saying, hey, I don't have time right now, but I really do appreciate your call and I want to address this.
for
That's
sure,
it.
yeah, and I think that also touches on, and with I think it's good that you shared that vulnerability, and I can totally relate on this idea of ghosting, and I'm still trying to
God.
figure it out. For those, I think most people know what that term is, but when you are in communication with someone and they just don't ever respond. And again, I can relate in vulnerability because of times like that when we feel too busy, or maybe we put it off and say, "Oh, I'm going to respond blah 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 when I have a moment," and then everything else comes up and we
You
forget, because
forget.
we've opened the
I've
message, it
done that
doesn't
so many
right.
times.
So I think, yeah,
You can actually really mess up a friendship by
yeah,
doing that. Like
yeah,
people
yeah.
will take it so
Yeah.
personally.
And I mean, I can relate on both sides of that coin
Yep,
too. I
exactly.
feel upset when someone doesn't respond. And it's like, again, that piece that you're saying is like, if someone says some long message, you don't feel like you have time, like, such a good practice to just say, hey, got this. I'll respond in a moment, or when I have a moment, or,
Yeah.
whatever, just to
Yeah.
have a communication back.
Especially if you have plans. Like you were telling me about somebody you had plans with, kind
Right.
of, and she didn't even respond back to you at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's rough. Like especially if you're needing somewhere to spend the night and you're traveling through town
Yeah.
and they don't even respond. I mean, that's fucked.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's bleep. Excuse my
It's
language.
okay. This isn't sunshine story time. I'm not
Okay.
reading to kids, so
All right.
we can
Well,
have some
good.
words.
Good. Yeah.
But speaking of, that time constraint and stuff, we do have to wrap up, even though we could go on forever because I've got to catch the bus on to some other amazing friends to
Hmm.
connect with. But it has been amazing chatting with you about this. And yeah, I know that we can have many more good conversations, and
Yeah.
we definitely will. I just want to open it up with any last things that you might want to add. We kind of already touched on, what people can do. Again, just those little communication elements with their
Yeah.
friends and stuff. And I think that's a great, offering to leave that anyone can do at any moment to bring more connection. Also, if you would like to share of anything of your connection here in Santa Cruz, of your sound healing or anything like that, just
Yeah, for
briefly.
sure. I
Um,
Yeah, I love this conversation about care and friendship. It's such an important conversation. We all need to show up a bit more for the people that are really, who you really care for. And I'm learning how to do that. And I put a conscious effort into it daily with my friends. And I think it's made such an impact in my life and created such deeper connections, and feel like I have backup people that are there for me,
yeah,
when I am down and stuff.
yeah,
So you got to show up to get people to show up for you. That's
yes,
what I think the biggest point I really want to address is that you can't expect everyone else to show up for you if you're not showing up for them. So that's my blip. About my sound work, I host these ceremonies every full moon at the Santa Cruz Yoga. And I usually do ones also at Breath and Oneness around the new moon, too. I have one coming up on January 26th, and I do that with this woman, Mira. And her voice, holy crap, she's just absolutely angelic and amazing. We just released a live album of our work, and I mean, we were listening to it last night, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I just love this so much." And I'm so passionate about this sound work. My sound ceremonies aren't just like a sound bath where it's just a simple crystal bowls or something. It's a very complex and deep shamanic journey that really takes you on a lot of different levels. And it's for me, it's like doing medicine, with sound. And I wanted to create a ceremony for people who aren't interested in doing mushrooms and doing all that stuff. So I created this, and it's my passion, and doing sound as creating the medicine for deep, um, going into deep realms and other worlds and places of vulnerability, and being able to express yourself and cry and, yeah, have that sacred space held for you. So please come January 26th, Santa Cruz Yoga from 7 to 9.
yes. And he did a closing little sound bath for us at the end of Ecstatic Dance, which was amazing. I have not been to yours yet. I would love to come to the full experience. He also makes amazing natural didgeridoos. So yeah, if you're looking for a didgeridoo,
Oh yeah.
reach out to him for that too. Yes, gotta get running, but would love to give you, an end of bath hug. Like I don't know if I've done
Oh
that
yeah.
before
Oh
in an
yes.
outdoor bathtub quite like this.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Sunshine Connection.
Aloha.
Ciao.
What's happening? Come on,
Well, we'll
man.
have to turn it off, apparently. The remote's not working.